How is it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review. Today we're going to be reviewing this 2014 Shelby GT500. Now, some of you may know this already because I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in some previous video, either about my car or about another Mustang. But this is my absolute favorite Mustang literally ever created. You could go back to like the original 60s ones and even like the newer ones. And me personally, I just absolutely love the S197 body style. If you're subscribed to my channel, you know that I have a 2008 V6 Mustang. And honestly, all the Mustangs that they made from 05 to 2014, I just absolutely love that style. I like it a hell of a lot more than the new S550s, but this 2014 GT500 and even the 2013 GT500s are really just the epitome to me of what a Mustang should be. I mean, it's loud, it's rowdy, and it makes a hell of a lot of power. And a lot of these can even give the new 2020 GT500s a good run for their money, because this engine and drivetrain is just absolutely amazing. And we will get to that more in a minute, but first, just like going around the exterior of this car, it's absolutely beautiful. You can see the factory black paint color, and this thing's like a mirror. I mean, the owner just got it washed and he pretty much just picked it up a couple weeks ago, and it looks so beautiful. I love the black vinyl racing stripes going down the middle of the car, and I also really love the two black vinyl GT500 stripes right here. And I mean, I just absolutely love it. I just think it looks so badass. And sitting here in the sun, like in person, I don't know if the camera's even going to do it justice, because it looks like an absolute mirror. Now, moving on to the wheel and tire setup on this car, it does have Meteor tires on it from factory, but the wheels are pretty much just the stock SVT wheels. And even the wheels on this car, I really do like them. And underneath, you can see the Brembo brakes, the really massive Brembo brakes that stop this thing. But going back to the wheels, we do have a staggered setup. So in the front, they're the 19-inch factory wheels, and then in the rear, they're the 20-inch factory wheels. And in the front, these are actually wrapped in Michelin Pilot Super Sport 285s by 40s by 19s. And then moving on in the rear, you definitely have a lot of meat with the great tire. You have the Nitto NT555Rs, and they're actually 305 by 35s by 20s, so this thing definitely is going to hook. And being a Mustang with the rear still very light, and again, the solid rear axle that these cars come with, you definitely need a lot of rubber in the back there with all the power that this thing is making. All right, guys, so now moving on to the engine and the drivetrain of this 2014 Shelby GT500. Underneath the hood, you can see the 5.8 liter supercharged 4-valve per cylinder double overhead cam V8 that does power this legendary car. And on top of it, you can see the 2.3 liter Trinity blower. This one was paint matched by the previous owner to kind of match the blue right here over the valve covers. And from factory, this thing does make 662 brake horsepower at 6,250 RPMs and 631 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPMs. And this engine is an absolutely great engine. Again, it's probably my dream Mustang drivetrain. Everything from this engine back to the 6-speed manual TR6060, and even into the rear end. I mean, this thing has long gears, and with the power that it makes, it was pretty much the first 200-mile-per-hour Mustang that anyone's ever seen from factory. Now, yes, technically, if you search up 2014 GT500 top speed, it only says 190. But I'll let you kind of look through YouTube or anywhere else. But people have done a lot of testing with this thing, and these things in the perfect condition from factory could actually reach 200 miles per hour, which is honestly crazy. Now, that being said, this thing actually still does make great gas mileage from the factory, which is kind of surprising. Gets around 15 miles per gallon during city driving and 24 miles per gallon during highway driving, for a combined average of 18 miles per gallon, which again, for something that is as wild and reckless as this is pretty damn surprising. And also, if you know GT500s, you know that this specific one, it's definitely not stock. I mean, the first thing that you can see, like right off the bat, is this big JLT Performance cold air intake. A lot of these cold air intakes actually work really well for this engine because of just, I guess it just opens it up. And also on the top here, this blower is actually a ported 1320 junkie blower. So this owner is definitely making a lot more boost from factory. And then also, I don't know if you can actually even see them, but the previous owner did install Dynatech headers that go back to the Ford Performance exhaust mufflers. And also the current owner, like I mentioned before, only has had this thing for maybe like 2-3 weeks now. So he doesn't know everything. It hasn't been on the dyno yet. So I'm not gonna sit here and talk about power when we quite frankly don't even know. But he did have someone who is really into these cars look at it, and he said that the injectors are actually bigger injectors too, and there's a couple other minor things that are different about this car that were changed by the previous owner. But again, we have no idea what this car really makes. I'd have to say a conservative guess would be around 700 or 700 and something horsepower with just the things that we see, just the opened up exhaust with the ported blower and the cold air intake. But needless to say, this thing still makes a ton of power, and plenty more power than it really needs from factory. So any modifications that you really do to these things, it just adds that little bit of just intensity while driving. So anyways, speaking about driving, now I'm going to hop in the car, take you guys for a drive, and show you guys my initial reactions. This 2014 Shelby GT500, and this thing is so rowdy. I mean, it's not like the fastest car technically that I've driven on my channel, because I've driven like the Porsche GT2 RS, that one GTR that was like over 1,000 horsepower. If you haven't checked those videos out, I highly suggest checking those out too. But again, being a Mustang owner, and specifically being a V6 Mustang owner, this is such a cool experience being able to drive this thing today. Now I just put the suspension in sport mode too, so it's just a little bit stiffer. Yeah, this thing sounds so good. This thing also does have a MGW short throw shifter. I'll probably edit in a little clip of it right now, but it makes this thing very, very notchy. And I mean, the throw to begin with from these GT500s for factory, it's nowhere near like the 2005 to 2009 V6s or GTs that like I'm used to, that really long ass throw. Funny too is like when people who I guess just don't own Mustangs, or maybe they don't like Mustangs or whatever, and they always rip on them for being crowd killers. I mean, it's really not that bad, and quite frankly I'd rather have something that's a little bit rowdy than, you know, something that just, it feels like it's too easy to drive. And what I mean by that is, me personally, like, I love driving these older, like the S197s and older Mustangs, because they still have that live axle on the back. I also do love the S550s. I love the technology behind them, and I think it's good that Ford actually finally did put in an independent rear suspension in the Mustangs. But just the feeling of being able to go sideways pretty much whenever you want to, and having that on demand, is just such an awesome feeling in my opinion. And don't get me wrong, if you've been subscribed to my channel, I love driving all-wheel drive vehicles. I love driving all-wheel drive turbo cars because it's such a different experience from my normal naturally aspirated V6 rear-wheel drive live rear axle Mustang. But there's definitely just something about a classic blown V8 with a manual transmission and a liver axle in the back. And once you get into those higher RPMs, you can start to hear that whine really kick in. And it sounds so damn intoxicating. This car is addicting to drive. Alright guys, so now I'm actually about to get on the highway with this thing. Gonna wait for a straight to kind of open up, and actually perfect. This thing is so badass. Oh my god. And with the longer gears too, it just keeps pulling. I mean, this thing redlines at 7,000. Which again is not like the highest red line compared to other, you know, modern day engines, but for a muscle car, like, and for the amount of power this thing has with just the long gears and that higher red line, it just keeps freaking pulling. I mean, you get out of first gear at right around 60 miles per hour, so that gives you a little indication of how fast you're going, even in like just a third gear pull. Oh my god. Yeah, this thing will get you in trouble very, very quickly. Oh my god, man, this thing is so awesome. Alright, so anyways, that's pretty much just gonna wrap up today's video. I've had enough of this thing. I'm gonna get it back to its owner. Gonna go nice and easy, because this thing is just a absolute beast. Alright guys, like always, definitely be sure to leave a like on this video. It helps me out a lot. And thank you guys for all the support. I'll see you guys in the next